What's up, well builders? Today we're going to get into the YouTube algorithm. I am bringing an expert on who's been doing this for over a decade now and gotten billions of views on his channel with Think Media.
I mean, I think that YouTube is an interesting place right now. I think, here's the big idea. The pandemic social media boom is over. Now, what that doesn't mean is it doesn't mean that there's not opportunity on YouTube. It doesn't mean that there's not opportunity on social media. I think what also happens is people become delusional because they become used to inflated numbers.
I've got Sean Cannell. What's up, man?
Ryan Pineda.
Hey, dude, this is like at least our third podcast together.
I'm grateful to be back in Las Vegas. You're repping 305 on the bench press, and I'm inspired.
There we go, baby. So YouTube, I actually hit you up a few weeks ago. One of your videos popped up on my feed and I was like, hey, what do you think is really happening with YouTube now? Because I'm personally noticing organic reach is harder to get. It takes way more effort with more competition. And then I saw you put out a video talking about this new report that YouTube just dropped and what YouTube's looking for. And so I want to just dive into that because, a lot of us don't have time to read it. They would rather listen to the expert give their opinion on it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that YouTube is an interesting place right now. I think, here's the big idea. The pandemic social media boom is over. Like there was, just like in real estate, a social media bubble, and that bubble is gone. I mean, you want to get in during the wave, you rode that wave.
Yep.
Now, what that doesn't mean is it doesn't mean that there's not opportunity on YouTube. It doesn't mean that there's not opportunity on social media. I think what also happens is people become delusional because they become used to inflated numbers. And so if you're used to getting 10 to 100 times the views and it drops by 10x or 100x, you're going crazy. You're like, is this even worth doing anymore? Yeah. So then what's kind of interesting though, is it's kind of like drugs. There's a reset. And if you're resetting your dopamine back to a baseline of, in a way, health, if your numbers were 100,000 views a video and then you drop to 10,000 views a video, you might say, man, is this worth doing? But it could be a reframe. Well, what are those 10,000 views of video worth? How are you stewarding those 10,000 views of video? Put in perspective the 10,000 views you were getting. Now, I know a lot of listeners might be like, dude, I'm getting 7 views. Do I get into the content game? So we have a lot of strategies for that. But I think that's the big thing is I think a lot of people started in 2020, 2021, 2022. There is increased competition. And then there's the division of attention. Attention is just being more divided to short form, long form as well as doing well, but people are watching more channels. A lot of people popped up. I mean, you also are guilty of creating a lot of competitors. You helped a lot of people start social media. That's literally my job. I'm constantly putting myself out of business because I give away all my YouTube secrets. And then, how many other YouTube educators are there? There's 1,000. We've done a light research on it, but there's probably more than that. But I mean, that we could find. And so what's interesting though, is I would say that future is still bright. YouTube Shorts get 200 billion views a day. That's 4x more than TikTok. But YouTube Shorts are exploding. And while this is all happening, though, YouTube is printing gold play buttons left and right for creators, especially in YouTube Shorts. Our mutual friend, Pat Flynn, started a YouTube Shorts channel, and in 199 days, got 2 billion views, got a gold play button, and made $128,000 from ads on YouTube Shorts. YouTube Shorts are blowing up. And then people are also starting new long form channels and they're doing well as well. And, I think probably what's really important to your audience though, is how many customers do you actually need? If you've got an offer, if you've got a business, if you have identified your ideal target audience, I help a lot of real estate agents and they want to get millions of views because they watch Graham Stephan, but it's you don't need millions of views. You need a view that is moving to your city soon and is going to buy a home. And there's a conversion if you're creating the right content. So I think your approach to YouTube's got to change. And I think you also can rise above the noise in this era, but a lot of things have shifted and it's a different landscape in going into 2026.
Yeah. You bringing up real estate agents, one of my good friends who's been on the show, Levi Lassick, and he's speaking at WealthCon. He's a great example of that. You know, I don't know how many subscribers their channel has, but, you know, I have like maybe 30,000 or something like that. So it's like, you know, it's obviously better than most, but it's not millions. And their goal is just to get the right views. And so they make, you know, content just solely on somebody who would be looking at buying a home in Dallas, and that's it.
Yep.
And it's like, clearly that's not going to get a lot of views of like somebody looking at the school districts in Dallas.
Yep.
But guess what? Anyone looking for that, bro, they need a realtor. And yeah, I think it's kind of just reverse engineering for, hey, what is the product they sell? And what would that person be searching on YouTube?
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. And Levi shared his numbers with me before, but I mean, any given month, I think it's 10, 50, 100 qualified leads that come from organic YouTube content. And then what you also find is that sometimes it's not your highest volume of leads compared to other traffic sources, but they're much higher quality because they're so warm when they reach out. If they've already binged your YouTube videos or watched your YouTube videos, there's an acceleration of trust that has happened that's really unparalleled to any other place. You know, in marketing, there's like the 7-11-4 rule, which is like 7 hours, 11 touch points across four platforms to like warm up a sales lead. And so if somebody it's very easy for someone to spend 7 hours on YouTube with you. If they start researching Dallas, their school districts, they maybe watch like a screen share where you're showing them different neighborhoods on Google Earth. And next thing you know, they're thinking about moving. They've spent 7 hours, 10 hours getting to know you even before they reach out. And then they're like, hey, Levi, like, it's kind of weird. I'm really grateful for everything you've taught me. And yeah, we are moving, my wife and I. So YouTube is unique in that regard, and that speaks to why video is so powerful for building a personal brand, building trust.
Yeah. So I don't think anyone doubts that YouTube is powerful, right? I remember when I first got on it in 2020 that I did doubt that. I'm like, why the heck would anyone do this? And I think a lot of entrepreneurs probably thought that way, you know, because we're busy running our businesses, and it's like, why are we going to make YouTube videos again about this? Like, isn't it better to just use all that energy towards, you know, being in the business and growing it and whatever? And then now you see, you know, 5 years later, every entrepreneur understands that social media is important. Now, is it the most important thing they could be doing relative to other opportunity costs, you know, that they have? I mean, it depends who the entrepreneur is. One thing I've noticed is like entrepreneurs who are like already like doing, I mean, tens of millions or whatever, it's really kind of not worth it for them to like start from zero and try to build this, because they can go do other things that like move, if money's the core motivator, right? And then I've just noticed like guys who are just getting started in business, it's tough because maybe they don't have the resource or the track record or whatever. And so kind of what I found is what that really leads to is that there's kind of this in-between entrepreneur who I think YouTube is perfect for, right? You're already doing some business, you do have time, and like putting in the work could like take you from multiple 6 figures to 7 figures and beyond. And that's literally like what it did for me was, you know, I was doing 7 figures before, but it truly like, I don't know how else I would have did 8 figures without the power of social media. So it's like, there's kind of this in-between person where it's like perfect for, in my opinion.
What is your thoughts about Marcus Sheridan said in the next 5 to 10 years, he thinks that a company's YouTube channel is going to be more important than their website. And that's like thinking about personal brand. In a world where you have coaching offers, you still do, like in a world where getting information could come from AI and come from low cost Udemy $37 real estate course, are people going to keep doing business with you?
I've thought about this a lot because clearly, I mean, AI is affecting every industry, you know, not just educators, but lawyers and engineers and all these things.
But personal brand.
So I see a couple of things. To answer your first question, is a YouTube channel more valuable than a website? Yes, like easily, because anyone can just go build a landing page and it's like
totally
not hard. I even had this debate just now about domain names because we were trying to go get a domain name and I'm like, do I really want to pay this much for the domain, or do I want to just get the dot something else? And I just chose the dot something else because it's just, in my opinion, not that important anymore. Because people are just going to click the link in your bio. They're going to click the ad. Nobody like searches ryanpineda.com. They just would search Ryan Pineda. So for sure, I think the channel is more valuable. But as far as the value of education, I think it's worth nothing. I think, and I've been saying this for over a year, if you're a course seller or a guru or whatever, it's just slowly becoming worth nothing. And I just look at the history of it. It's like, dude, people used to sell $1,000 courses, 7 years ago. Yeah, right. You ain't selling $1,000 course anymore.
Yeah.
Then, there was group coaching, and group coaching was $10,000, $20,000. Like, dude, people don't want to pay for that anymore.
Yep.
So, then what becomes left? If there's so much amazing content on YouTube, so many amazing podcasts like this, the education's not the hard part anymore.
Yeah.
Like, information is free. Chat will tell you. Then where do you derive value? And in my opinion, it comes from two things as far as being like an educator. One is providing the services that they're going to use regardless. So for us, we do this on the real estate side through lead generation, through CRMs, softwares, and lending. So we give them all the things they would buy anyways.
Yep.
And then the education's like free.
Sure.
And then the other side of it would be, I guess there would be three things. So the second one would be implementation. So you actually do help them implement it. It's not like, I'm going to just teach you.
Right.
Hey, we're going to work with you. I'm going to look at your thumbnail, your title, whatever. And then the third would be experiences. And I think experiences are what's really going to grow. That's why I started our new golf mastermind, because I'm making a big bet on that.
Yeah, that's why there's like CXOs, chief experience officers, didn't even exist until around, I think, 2007. And now that is a role that's increasing even more because of experience. I actually disagree with you, though. I think that the info space, people are still selling $1,000 courses and more, and I think they will continue. But what I would agree with is when you say you're selling a course, I would agree that that's dead. I think what you're selling, the only moats are you're selling transformation. If your course, and to your point, probably with a cohort and with the coaching that is involved and with the community that surrounds it and with the identification of a process of where you are and what result it delivers for you, well, then in one sense, that becomes your offer. Yeah. So to your point, like your course, it's like just an information-based course can now be stolen and duplicated.
Yeah.
But the experience of your brand. And so I think...
And the implementation's what you're talking about. How do we help you actually get the transformation from this information?
Yeah. So I think the stack would be implementation, the transformation you go through, the community, because being in a community, I mean,
part of experience.
It's really well known also that, Tony Robbins kind of popularized that actually experiencing change in your life is only 20% information, and then it's 80% psychology. It's 80% the things that are going to come out of experience. So even if you can get ChatGPT to tell you the answer, people are still stuck in information overwhelm, not even sure if the answer is right. Brain is full of lots of ChatGPT prompts, but they're still not doing the thing. So yeah, it's an interesting, all that disruption, but that just comes full circle back to this big idea. I think the other moat around all of this, though, is brand.
Yeah.
Like why do you, the actual hoodie itself, it has a hard cost of $5, but your willingness to pay $50 or even $500 for the hoodie is the brand.
Yeah.
So the willingness to invest with you, be a part of your community, do your experiences, and if that comes full circle, why is a YouTube channel more valuable? I think the important thing would be a good YouTube channel that's being watched and consumed and that's building a community, is creating a brand moat of people that there's a lot of options in the world. They want to do business with you. They want to be a part of your golf mastermind. They want to be a part of your stuff because of the connection, the values, the beliefs, the different things they're connecting with inside of your brand and your personal brand.
Yeah. And I guess we're saying the same things. I think, brand to me is part of like experience. It's like, bro, when I go to a Ryan Pineda event, what can I expect? And it's like, we've held so many events now, so people know. And that's why we do lots of big events and we never have a problem, because We get repeat customers and people who just know what to expect with an event I put on. And I mean, that's brand, that's experience. They're all part of the same thing, in my opinion. And yeah, I just think if you're a content creator or somebody trying to sell information, you're going to have to do better than just presenting the information.
You got to level up fast. You got to step into these 10 distinctions we're like outlining.
Yeah, because like a course is like, cool, dude. Like I read your book, I watched the course, but it's like very few people do anything with no actual implementation or experiences or anything.
Yeah.
So what do you think about just with YouTube in general, though? I mean, it's getting harder. And I'll be transparent. So for me, the reason I reached out to you a couple of weeks ago was because I kind of have this dilemma today where I spent, I started in 2020, and I would say from 2020 through 2023, I would say organic content was my top priority. And so I was always thinking about hooks, ideas, reaching out to podcast guests, really like putting a lot of energy and effort into putting out great content. And along with that, I'm busy running businesses and everything else. And then I kind of reached the point where, in my opinion, this is kind of like me transparently saying this, where I feel like I am capped on what I can do organically based on my current track record. Like I feel like until I accomplish more in business, I don't deserve to get to the next level, at least as being a business content creator, because I don't feel like I've accomplished enough. And also, too, I feel like there's diminishing returns for me to try and break through that barrier right now, where it's like once you do have a brand, once you are known, like, yeah, you got to maintain the brand and all these things. It's not like I could stop posting tomorrow and the brand will still survive. It won't. Like, I got to still stay relevant. But do I need to keep trying to like grow and beat the algorithm and all this stuff? It's like kind of fighting an uphill battle for me personally. And so I look at opportunity costs and I'm like, what's a better use of my time for, my business? Because if my business is the main priority, not being famous or getting views, but it's like clearly I do YouTube to get views, to get the right views, to fuel the businesses. I mean, I think most entrepreneurs, that's why they do it. Very few are just like pure, dude, I just love being on camera. I just love making videos. Like that's like a creative. Mm-hmm. Most entrepreneurs are doing it for a business purpose. And so I look at it and I'm like, I have so much more opportunity to focus on my business and paid ads and, all these things that I can capitalize on the brand that I've built, run ads, do the stuff. There's enough track record and, all the stuff that I've built for years now. And that's what I'll focus on. But that's just me transparently kind of like looking at my situation here in 2025.
Do you enjoy creating content?
Not really.
How many hours a week do you spend doing it?
I mean, not even a lot. I mean, maybe like 5.
And is that something, if you were getting better return, that you'd keep doing the 5?
Well, I can keep doing 5. It's not like I don't, it's like, it doesn't suck to come here and talk to you.
Yeah.
Like I enjoy doing the podcast because I'm always talking to cool people. So like podcasts are super easy.
Yeah.
Solo videos, I hate. I do not like doing solo videos because then I got to actually think of a topic, a thumbnail. And
have you tried to outsource that, where you just sit down and maybe somebody like pings questions off you and has done all the hook work for you, and so you just shoot for 1 hour or 2 hours and shoot your whole month of vertical videos?
We do that for vertical.
Okay.
Yeah. But I'm saying like long form.
Yeah.
Solo video. But yeah, vertically, they come up with questions and they'll just hit me wherever I'm at, the golf course here. So yeah, we do outsource that now.
Got it. So like that's the other piece. That's how you're kind of keeping the vertical going, kind of keeping the podcast going. But at some level, you've kind of lost the fire. You're getting better ROI other places.
Yeah.
And you're kind of wondering, where do I go from here?
Yeah, because when I looked at my return on effort for content during 2020 through 23, it was like massive payoff. And I'm like, oh, bro, like it is worth it for me to think through how to keep growing, how to like get better guests and all these things. And then you look at the return on it today and I'm like, I think I can get a better return focusing on other things.
Yeah.
Especially now that I've built a brand.
Have you had Dan Martello on the podcast yet?
Yep.
Did you hear updates about like what he's doing with his content and his team?
I saw him literally like 3 weeks ago, but we didn't really talk too much about it.
He just gave Sam $1 million. He said, Sam, I'll give you the money if you've got a vision of what you'll do for it with it.
He gave him a budget.
He gave him a budget.
Yeah.
And Sam said, I want $1 million, and he explained why.
Okay.
You want to know what I'd do if I was you?
What?
I would schedule a content revival day. I would rally your team and just be like, hey, how do we reinvent? One thing I learned from Patrick Bet-David, I might even though you could keep it going, you've got stuff.
He took a sabbatical.
Yeah. I actually would maybe take a sabbatical and invest your energy in future and reinvention. And I would then be asking, okay, who's on the team who freaking also loves this? You got skills everywhere, but who's obsessed? They actually like love it. They obsess about hooks, human psychology, click-through rate, analytics, studying other YouTubers, studying thumbnails. They want to split test thumbnails. They want to use, they're split testing titles. Like we have a dedicated person who goes back and optimizes our own library, our old library with thumbnailtest.com, split testing titles. And it lifts dead videos just by split testing titles on old videos, which is not a feature that YouTube has added yet. We're going to probably add that, but they only allow you to split test the 3 thumbnails. Clearly in a position like yours, Dan's thing too, he says he has not watched any of the content that gets posted.
Yeah, I don't either.
So he's got a small box and systems and individuals and team, who not how, set up around domination, and then he shows up to those places. He's delegated to the right people, and that's probably maybe a reactivation, a re-job description, a re-KPIs, clarity of who's here and what do they want to do and what are they capable of, and then perhaps somebody else coming in. Because the thing is, you could absolutely afford a 6-figure position plus for a growth hacker that is going to do the heavy lift.
Right.
Who's waking up thinking about this? Well, not you. And you don't even want to, but the right person. And to me, I think it would be irresponsible for you to let off the gas in organic content. Because I know you're also a mission-driven person. And so I think that it's tapping back into the why too. Like, this isn't just a lever of, you could do the paid ad thing and scale the businesses thing. This is also the message you're putting out, the network you have, your love for Jesus, the mission you want to do, the free advice and how that changes people's lives. And I think it's a limiting belief for you to say you haven't reached the next level to teach from. Bro, you're in the top 1% of 1% already, like mathematically. You just hang out with guys that are like so in the stratosphere that like you get in enough rooms where you're smart, because you get into rooms where you're the dumbest person in the room. And you're smart because you get into the rooms where you're the brokest person in the room. Yeah. Which is, it'd be accurate to call it a level of delusion compared to like the median of where, people are at. So I think who you are right now, with what literally happens in your daily life right now, with what's all the momentum in events and golf and businesses and homeschool and impact and family and church and ministry and kingdom events, like, bro, you should be pumping out so much content. I think maybe getting the wind knocked out of you because of, the recession that everybody felt. I think it's about maybe taking a sabbatical, scheduling kind of the retooling of things, and then relaunching. And even if, because I'm sure you could very shortly do 10x more than you're doing right now. Mm-hmm. Like you could go from where you're at to 10x more, very levered, and still be doing it like 5 hours a week. Yeah. And easily pay for the ROI and not increase your stress too much by just getting the right things in place. And then I think the question is, would you want to do that, commit to that? And, it's just one man's opinion. But I personally feel, of course, I'm the content YouTube guy, but I honestly feel like you have like an ethical responsibility to do so, because you have the resources to put into place the systems and team to sort of make success inevitable. And honestly, there's too much to share. I think there's still too much. And I know people mic you up and follow you around and whatnot, but you just do cool stuff in the day-to-day. Like, I don't think the D-Rock model is dead. But I also think too many guys tried it and it didn't get views and people didn't want to watch the vlog because because the top 1% of Shredditors is still a very rare thing to find. A producer, shooter, editor that is really good in 2025 is more rare than a unicorn. But there's someone on planet Earth that wants to work with you right now that would be a Shredditor that could change everything. That comes back to the who, not how lever.
Do you think this person is a one-man show that does that?
I think it's a one-man show, not that it's a one-man that does everything, but it's the generator. Let me ask you this. Like, it's founder energy. Like, no matter what, you got incredible people, you know that. But what really happens to a business if you don't have the founder, the real founder, the legit founder? The founder is a force. There's no systems good enough. Founder person. So it's finding somebody that type of leader turns every 6, 7, and 8 leader into 10s.
Right.
They lift everybody. As I mean that they would do everything, but they just have a whole new vision because the level, and this, if we take this all the way back to practicals for anybody that wants to grow a YouTube channel, the word that Gary Vaynerchuk used when he spoke at Grow with Video Live this last time, our virtual summit, was he just said it takes more rigor now. Like everything I just described is like, what does rigor mean? It means split testing 3 thumbnails, split testing titles. Like when we title our podcast and we go into, we call it a title crew. It's basically like a title brainstorm. Kyle, Drea, Takashi, our thumbnail designer, Steph, our thumbnail editor, myself are all on Zoom and we open up Milanote, which is a workflow. And we have like the script in there and we've got the Google Doc with the notes and it's the script from the interview. After the interview's done, I went into the interview knowing the angle, but then we run the script through AI and we say, what are the best angles? What are the hooks for the trailer? Not just the hook. And you know what a lot of people know what a trailer is: the music, the drum hits, the open loops. We go through all of that. We brainstorm 5, then it's 15. Sometimes there's 36 titles in there. We copy paste all those in AI. Which one's best? What are the different psychological? Okay, that's probably the best title. We can always split test it later, but we figure out the angle, figure out the combining words. Diary of a CEO. What's the ROI of Stephen Bartlett's podcast? He's probably like maybe the biggest in some sense of whatever genre that would be. They're known to split test 100 thumbnails. 3 different looks with 30 different quotes on each of the looks of the guests or the 2 guests and doing like paid ads. There's interviews with his creative director and there starts becoming the individual. His whole thing is like 10 camera angles. They shoot for 3 hours, but edit it into an hour and 45 minutes. For the end user, the whole middle should be cut out and the continuity of the whole episode. So when Gary Vee says to win on social media today, you need another level of rigor. Just sitting down and having a random 2-hour conversation is cool for your diehard audience. But Diary of a CEO is split testing 100 thumbnails and trimming the fluff and optimizing the beginning and like thinking about the viewer audience retention through the entire episode. It's a whole different level of rigor. And it turns out that those that are winning on YouTube today are just putting in the time and they're playing the game at a different level. I actually do not think that this is inaccessible for your average person. I just think the average person has to count the cost if they're willing to do the work, because competition is highest on YouTube for lazy content, but you only have to get in the top 10% of content. 90% of people are just going to sit down and like start a podcast, record for an hour, turn it off, upload it, lazy title, and wonder why they don't get views. And if you go into the 10%, it's just you go in with an extra level, and is the stuff you were doing. It'd be coming back to that, but you don't have to do it. You delegate it. Like, who is architecting hooks, titles, angles? And then once it's all done too, by the way, but a really great editor could turn it into magic. If that person's not just sitting there like cutting out the ums and trimming the ends, they're an artist themselves, maybe orienting what questions should be in there, thinking about the viewer, time codes and chapters, breaking down the sections, thinking about how those are worded and really packaging it. You could even get a host. Like that host could then take your conversations where you just want to talk real and raw. And once it's done, they're like, in today's episode, maybe they've got world-class energy. They give an agenda. Our hook formula for YouTube is grab attention, set your authority, and set the agenda. So it's attention, authority, and agenda. You have to get attention. That's the trailer, the opening quote. What's the first sentence of the video? The opening lines. Create a couple open loops. Create some reasons in a world that's very busy of why am I going to stop and watch this in 2026? When I got so many other things to watch and I've watched a lot of things before, what are you going to say in the beginning of your video that's going to let people know there actually is fresh information in this is new, and this video is worth watching? There's a lot you want to get when you get attention. In every single video, you need to establish authority because there's cognitive dissonance. If you want to reach new people, they don't know why they should trust you. And there might be a lot of visual cues that immediately is like, oh man, was just another entrepreneur, bro. Even very shortly, but you being able to drop, if you want authority in a real estate room, you drop real estate math. You drop real estate numbers that you've hit. If you wanted authority in a content room, if you had a video on content, you might say, I'm like, I can relate. This is you talking in your hook. And, and I get it. I struggled for years trying to create content. But then once I really figured it out, I was able to generate 1 billion views. And I intentionally bridging and correcting the cognitive dissonance that happens in authority. It might be 1, 2, 3 sentences. And then setting the agenda. If it's going to be an hour-long podcast, here's what's coming up, and this is an open loop. It's going to be valuable. This is what's coming up. The same old information, because everyone's just copying each other and echoing. It actually is doing the hard work to find new stuff, find the latest reports, think about the newest angles. And that is always happening. Real estate's always changing. Rates are always changing. Politics are always changing. Whatever your industry is, it's just being on the forefront. I had Ken McElroy on, and he's got a great, almost 500,000 subs podcast, doing a lot of multifamily stuff. But he actually said one of the reasons why his videos do so good and he's built an audience is he has to build decks for the board and for his investors, and he presents those to his investors with forecasts and all these numbers and all that something, and he has to do all this research. And so it's all this current really gangster information, and then he's like, and I already built it, so then I just go film a YouTube video, and I'm like, hey guys, this is what all the information is. But it's a ton of rigor to actually put out. It's not just like, hey, you should invest in real estate. Obviously, he's got crazy levels of depth and a system with which he's already going to that new, fresh information, turning it into YouTube videos. There's his workflow. Not super hard to create consistent content, but he has the respect and the continued following because it's actually new stuff. That was one of the things that Neil Patel said too. If you want fresh, like he said, the only thing working on social media right now is new. The only thing working, because there's so much, even the outlier strategy on YouTube is a strategy of going and looking at videos that already exist and then just copying them. It's a good strategy, but it's what you use tools like vidIQ to study the outliers in your industry and be like, oh, that topic on a small channel got a 10x to 100x the views. So I should make my version of that video. Not a bad idea, but you're still an echo.
Yeah.
You're echoing something that's already out there. So Neil Patel's strategy was use my tool, which he purchased, answerthepublic.com, which you can actually search, not just YouTube, but you can search Amazon, Google, TikTok, Instagram to spot something new that's happened this week, this month. And even if it's 1 or 2 months old, it's still probably pretty fresh. And there's always going to be new stuff, but that's what people will keep watching. But I would agree in 2026, if you're like, how to get started in real estate, like SEO title, 7 tips, bro, you're like, what are you doing? Like, of course, that basic title has been so saturated. A lot of other people are doing it. You've got to find those fresh angles with curiosity, with fresh SEO, how to get started in real estate in 2026, 7 changes and how to adapt to those, because maybe the laws are changed and, the way commissions are giving. So people want fresh and new information. And that's why YouTube will actually never be saturated, because things are always changing, things are always moving, but it's going to come back to having the rigor to put in the work to create new content and stay on the cutting edge.
Number one, obviously, if you're going to do YouTube, period, you got to count the cost, because the cost is significantly higher today. Because even like just listening to you talk about like what I need to do, it's like, okay, well, you know what? If I really want to do it, it's going to take reinvesting into more team members who are going to do the little things.
Yep.
That we don't currently do. And, finding those team members, it takes time, it takes, effort and money and all these things. And so that's like step one. Step two.
Let me just stop you though, because you gave me this advice.
Okay.
And so you already know how to do this. I am just calling out your own myth with your own advice, because this is what I've learned from you. You do not need to find team members. You need to find team member, singular. You told me I hire top down.
Yeah.
You said, Sean, I hire top down. I go, Brian, how do you start? I go, Ryan, how do you start
a new business?
A new business every single day. You're like, I hire somebody to operate it from day one.
Yeah.
And then I realized my pattern up until this point, background as a youth pastor, money mindsets, mode of operation was I'm a bottom up. I've built bottom up, built which has been awesome, but like trained people, literally had the patience over years to impart the skills, which is like a youth pastor would do. So it's a paradigm shift to think top down. So not to like completely cut you off, but I would say like the answer is closer than it appears when back to that shredder. I think it's the one person who thinks even about the 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 other individuals, and they're responsible. And if you give Sam $1 million, and I don't think you need anywhere near that amount of money to talk about the results we're talking, but if you just one person budget, go nuts, let's crush this over the next 3 to 6 months, then the hard work is finding a unicorn in the forest of the earth, but it's one unicorn.
Right. And then, so one thing that we're doing is this golf business, right?
Yeah.
So, I'm starting this golf mastermind, and, basically it's all high level entrepreneurs. Most are 7-8 figures. We're going to go golf at bucket list stuff and, talk business, deals, all this cool stuff. So I'm excited about that. And one way that I'm thinking about promoting it is I have a second channel that I haven't used in years that had 50,000 subs, and is where I used to do the podcast before I put it on the main channel. And I'm thinking about changing that channel to a golf channel because these guys and women are going to be golfing with me every Friday. So that's part of the gig for at least for our founders. It's like, hey, if you join this mastermind, you're going to get to come out to golf with me here in Vegas, and, we're going to film it. And I've been watching a lot of golf content. So I'm kind of like pretty familiar with all the strategies in golf YouTube. And I'm also good enough at golf now where it's actually like probably really entertaining competition wise. So I'm just thinking about how that fits into what we're doing. Cause that's a whole new channel with, no proven results or anything. And like, it's a passion project, and, whether it brings in people or not, I know we'll acquire people regardless. Without the channel, we'll require, but with that channel, I think it really blows up, and I'm doing it anyways. So I've been thinking about how does that play into the whole ecosystem of the content I'm creating?
I think you're a part of the strategy meetings, but it is taking that time to whiteboard it out and go deep to just say, what's the new era? What's like the new container? And I also wonder, have you ever heard about the law of 3?
No.
Like, basically every time your business triples, it breaks.
Okay.
And it's the idea of if you're at 100K, it's one thing. If you get to 300K, no big deal. But from 300K to $1 million, everything breaks. Your systems, your team. And then, from $1 million to 3 million, everything breaks again. And that could be staff, personnel, but it also could be income. Did you find it?
It says there's a lot of different laws of 3.
Let me just ask, what's the law of 3 where every time things triple, it breaks your team and the communication channels multiply? And then also, like, if your revenue triples, it breaks. The law of 3, rule of 3 by Hiroshi Mikitani, founder of Ratuken, the affiliate. Right, so pretty big. Every time your company triples in size or increases by a factor of 10, everything breaks. Your system, your processes, your people, your communication needs to be reinvented. So from solo to 3, and you've been through all these stages, that's one level. And so then 3 to 10, then 30 to 100. And so anyways, I guess it's kind of like, I think that a lot of clarity and peace would come to your content department, and maybe even a reorg in the sense of, you already are bought into the media company concept, and you already have one. We're clearly in your studio, like you've invested in it. But I think it's maybe a thought of what is the 4.0 version
Yeah. We haven't reinvented.
Yeah. Your media company.
Yeah. And I've been thinking about it.
And you can have multiple shows. Gary Vee has Trash Talk.
Yeah.
And it went for a while and it stopped. No big deal, but it was like iconic. In fact, my friend Caleb Ralston was one of the architects of that very show. And so this golf show, though, I think not only can it be amazing, but it can be freaking amazing if you resource it properly. And,
Do you think that should be on a different channel?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I think it's its own brand. It's its own vibe. It's its own thing. But the level of impact of that show will be, again, the team and systems you put around it. Yeah. But I think you also do it for fun. But then but content multiplies, because then even the fact of you doing that becomes case studies that you can teach off of, as you help other, entrepreneurs. And
I think the main thing is it starts with me getting the fire for content again, because I just don't have it.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, I think it's from a lot of things. And it's funny because I'm always hating on other people for making excuses.
Yeah.
But my main excuse is that my mind is just so prioritized for all the other things we're building.
Yeah.
And it is true. Content is a lower priority than the other things. But that's not to say that I couldn't excel at all of them if I really wanted to.
One of my favorite leadership quotes is, "Who's waking up thinking about this?" And the truth is, to your point, you're like, it's not it's way down here as far as a priority on my mind. It shouldn't be on your mind. It literally should not be on your mind. Then the question is, how have things expanded as people are waking up and they're thinking about too many things? Yeah. So sometimes as leaders, we might think about, man, why isn't X person on the team? And it's like, well, the problem is they're waking up thinking about 7 things. To that point is that, I know we're hammering this point, but that who is somebody who's not only waking up thinking about it, but that's literally their dream in life, to be a producer too, to be a strategist, visionary, producer, director of the whole media company.
Right.
The level of potential of this golf show, if it's done well, of course you could just get out there, shoot, but this does track back to turn the camera on, decent hook. You mentioned, I think you have to offload what's in your brain because you've studied it. Well, who else is studying it? Are you spending time with that individual? Have you offloaded the 75 distinctions you've studied in golf, YouTube, to somebody that's going to help you craft and architect it, and then they can identify? And then you just put out budget. The budget, could you spend $250,000 on making that for the entire show? How long is it going to go? Like a year? Your mastermind?
Oh no, the mastermind is going to be indefinite.
Indefinite. So it's just ongoing. So you could shoot every week. I'm throwing out a number, but I think you could probably produce a world-class show for $250,000. World class. All the team members, they're probably doing multiple things, like just that show, and over a year's time. That can ROI. More people get exposure to it, vibes.
For sure.
To the long tail of
we need to sell 2 people a month.
To the vertical, to the long tail of the vertical of it, and iconic, like industry shaping. Of course, getting the right team in place.
What would you do? Okay, so 2 questions tactically now, right? I think the main thing that we're hammering home to anyone listening is you got to want to do it. That's my main problem. Number 2, you got to be willing to step up to new levels. It's not just picking up a camera anymore and just copying everybody. You got to put effort into being unique and doing that. But 3, let's talk about frequency. How often should one post? Is it the hour plus or is it the 10-minute? What's working?
Let's reveal the secrets of some of the top YouTubers in the entrepreneurial space. You've got, talk about Dan Martell, Patrick Bet-David, Alex Hormozi, and they're all kind of doing different stuff. From what I could tell, Dan Martell and Alex Hormozi are releasing essentially 1 long form YouTube video a week. I think Alex is doing 1. I think Dan might be doing 2. These are very well produced, edited, strong videos. Mm-hmm. These videos are 15 to 30 minutes long, but they're typically teaching, talking head, quality, delivering value type videos. And they're also turned into podcasts. Now, so there's kind of an anchor long form strategy. These individuals, sometimes they don't necessarily have interview shows. You know, Alex will interview Dave Ramsey and other individuals, but he's usually doing solo rounds. And then he's got his podcast. Dan also similar, you know, he's mostly doing talking head. The reason I wanted to bring up Patrick Bet-David is like, dear God. I mean, like he's getting like more views than CNN. He's pumping out long, 2-hour long. I mean, it's politics driven. It's like news driven.
It's easier to
with multiple guests to divide and conquer even your voice, so you could bounce things off and talk and research. So I think, and then he's got endless clips from those across multiple channels. The PBD podcast is a channel, Valuetainment is a channel, and there's clips on it. There's the PBD Clips channel or Valuetainment Clips channel. Other clips go there. They rank the clips. He's got someone sitting in the meeting that is taking notes about what the best clips are, so they can be and this is not AI. AI is helping, but it's like humans that are strategists. And then it goes into, you know, I've been to their offices, edit bays. They come right out of the podcast room into an edit bay of what's getting cut. How are we putting those clips out? What are the thumbnails, titles? What are the angles of all of that? It's a media machine. He is going for kind of a Fox News, CNN, at scale type of a play. So it goes back to your question of like, what is the volume? I think that's just a self-awareness question of what kind of impact do you want to make? What do you want to put out there? How closely are you curating the uploads?
Yeah, I guess like I see there are people who it's like, it's extreme one way or the other, right? Like there are guys who go every day or multiple times a day, right? They'll start streaming and, you know, all these things. Then there are guys who they're like, yo, couple of videos, like 2 a week, and just like the highest quality that we can pump out, or even 1 a week, right?
Mr. Beast just uploads like when it's done.
Yeah.
It might be 3 weeks. It might be 6 weeks.
Yeah.
A couple $1 million budget on the video. It's like when it's a masterpiece.
Yeah. So I don't know. Like I've done both. I mean, I've done daily videos. I've done 3 times a week. I've done, you know, and I just think about my workload as being like the main driving factor of what I'm willing to do. But I mean, like I'm down to do 3 videos a week, and whether they be long form podcasts, I'll do 3 podcasts a week. I'll do 2 podcasts or 1 podcast and 2 20-minute, you know, talking heads.
Patrick Bet-David has research people on his team.
Yeah.
I still just think this comes back to who's waking up thinking about this.
This is a new question. Who do you think is the most valuable person on the team?
Of a content team?
Yeah.
Well, the strategist.
That's what I think.
That is the rarest. Yeah. The actual and strategy has like levels to it.
Yeah.
You might
So
get to
that person who's starting in deep research, finding these topics, figuring out from the beginning what the heck we're going to even film.
Yeah. And also, I think strategist and creative leader, which is interesting because leading creatives, that's one of the powerful threads that Caleb Ralston has been putting out on his channel and whatnot, is this idea of how to lead creatives. So that core leader that just gets the big picture, gets the strategy, is a good leader and knows how to lead a creative team. Because you also want the best creatives on your team.
Yeah.
But creatives, like anybody else, comes with strengths and weaknesses. So thinking about, I mean, who cares what hours they work or, you know, what their workflow is if they're able to just, that the leader is able to get the final product out of them. And so I think that's a unique skill set. It's a creative leader, really a brand builder that also then can go all the way. They've clearly been in the trenches. The reason they've earned the respect and have those insights is they've sort of done the pieces. And by the way, I mean, I would certainly possess some of these skills as the, you know, founder leader of Think Media. And I've been through all of those different steps. So whether it's like the leadership dimension, I've been behind the camera. I still know how to operate a camera. I understand workflows. I understand editing. I understand their pain points. And then I'm also on the front end. I expand into reading, psychology, hooks, communication. It's a multiplicity of skills. So if we were putting out a job description too, for the level you're at, yeah, this person's 10 years of experience. You know what's interesting too, is there's a lot of young guys that have that, meaning they're 23, but they started at 13.
Yeah.
My first channel was at 13, uploaded 55 videos. I've been obsessed ever since. Like I've been in it. I started, my first side business at 16 and a half. They maybe worked for one or two other people. So they actually might be young, but I think 10 years of experience would be the person that you need on your team.
As a strategist.
And there's plenty of people that have 10 years of YouTube's years old as a platform.
So if you were ranking the top priorities, right, the strategist is going to pull the biggest lever out of all this, right?
Yeah.
I would probably guess that the editor would have the least amount of value.
No, I'd say the editor actually comes pretty close. I knew you were going to say that next. And it was interesting when we had Ali Abdal speak, because it's a little bit different for me because we have people on salary. We have W-2 employees that work at Think Media. But for a lot of people, and for the end user, they could benefit from this. A lot of people, if you just want to like start a simple YouTube channel, you should hire a contract editor. Like you don't need, most people, you don't need staff, healthcare.
Per video.
And thus, per video. And here's what he broke down. The difference between, because you could pay $200 for a video. You could pay $500. The price for a great YouTube video per video is pushing $1,400.
Got it.
So
but that assumes you have brand strategy, all that in place for the video that gets.
Yeah, it's true. If you just have absolutely nothing and you hire the best
beast editor,
you get a beast editor and even your skill and whatnot. But that speaks to the level where I actually think editor is video editors are one of the most misunderstood job descriptions. I actually think almost all creative positions are grossly misunderstood by entrepreneurs. Because the mistake that entrepreneurs make is they think, I need to hire a photographer. You're lacking a ton of distinctions. Just because somebody calls himself a photographer, most suck. A lot of people, I need to hire a video editor. Oh, great. They have video. I don't even care if they have 10 years of experience. It doesn't mean they're a good editor.
But they don't know YouTube editing.
Exactly. So what software, how fast, editing, subtleties, workflows,
But if we're just breaking this down, the reason I said editor would be last is because they're kind of the last piece of the equation, right? Like they're that final piece of the puzzle before it launches.
True. I would add one key there. I think what's interesting about a good editor is they themselves are the best editor if they're actually a content creator themselves. And not that they even want to be on camera, but meaning they're as important. So I think about this. So Nathan on our team is one of our tech creators. He also is one of the greatest editors. And what's wild is I actually did this training where I taught in front of our 7-step framework and a whiteboard. It took me 36 minutes to teach it. He actually edited my video into a 9-minute video and it just crushed. But the nuance of it, he kept the whole story there. Every transition was great and the video still made sense. So he's done this. He's busy now.
There's no way you would know unless you just have the experience of.
And it can even, he's not just cutting out ums. He actually is equally understanding what's being communicated, trimming all the fluff. But let's put it another way. One interesting thing we do, because we have 2 channels, and there's in any given time, there's 1% negative comments because we'll reuse our content. But here's what I mean. On the podcast channel, it's a podcast. So we really don't edit it down. The whole conversation's there. And so we'll take my recent conversation with Pat Flynn. We covered multiple topics. Also wanted to talk about his book, Lean Learning. And so we covered YouTube, but covered his book, just kind of the whole deal. I think it was an hour-long conversation. So the thing about Nathan, who then took that edit, or it might have been Steph, respect to whoever did it. We have great editors at Think Media. Is then the challenge was, okay, but within that conversation with Pat is actually a gangster YouTube video. Meaning, do a different hook, add B-roll, the continuity of the whole conversation, and focus it on just his YouTube tips, where he told the story of his Pokemon channel. You could pull B-roll from his Pokemon channel, cut to clips. It could be a documentary now. It could cut to different stuff you would do on the podcast. So then my point, though, is the level of skill at the highest level of somebody who could do that without also, this is where you would never do this. You wouldn't have the patience. I could do this. I shouldn't have the patience. If I had to coach and give every edit and explain all of this, that editor is not at the right level. Here's an interesting thing too, that we use this thing called Frame.io that allows you to give feedback on editing.
Yeah.
So someone uploads their file, and then at every time code, you can give comments, and multiple team members could give comments, and you could be like, make the swoosh louder, fix that B-roll, that transition was weird, change the color grading. Why is my skin orange? Like all this different stuff. That song is a total wrong vibe, ends at the wrong point, is too loud, and you could put these edit distinctions in. I was listening to Caleb talk, Ralston. I just think he's a really great creative, and we go back 20 years. He said, if you're coaching and training your editors, because you're not going to find all 10s. You also do need to be building them. And that's why the one person who's going to build them. He said when someone first starts, 250 replies on how many things to change in the edit.
Yeah.
That was him on Alex Hormozi videos.
I used to do that all the time.
250 distinctions. And so that's that rigor word again. Who even has those distinctions and then is coaching, and who is building the team, the editors. So that starts with the strategist.
So this is my biggest thing. When we built everything, that was me.
Yeah.
Because I knew no one else knew it. And back then when I was building, a media team, it didn't exist in the way that we're talking about it today. So I remember when I first started this in 2020, 2021, I'm like, oh, well, I'm going to build an org chart and I'm going to build out this team, and I got to teach them, because none of them have YouTube experience and doing this for 10 years. Like you're saying, none of them, this entrepreneur thing was like new. But I knew what needed to happen because I had just studied these guys myself. And, so I did all that for years. And, the team definitely knows now, but even like when I want a new project launched with something I'm going to do, then I like actually get into it and I'm like, no. And it's like, does that need to be the level,
You just need the person.
Yeah. Yeah. Just holding them.
And I almost wonder, is it a separate company?
For what?
Your media company.
I mean, it's just staff.
Yeah, I mean, I just wonder. This is just brainstorming because I was just recently hanging out with Dan Martell, and he started Martell Media, and I think there's something powerful about naming it, packaging it, positioning it, and then the question is who's at the top, not you.
Yeah.
So it's who runs Pineda Media. And that goes back to founder energy.
Yeah.
I was talking about earlier. It's like founder fire, founder energy. Success rises and falls on leadership. So that leader is critical. And then that leader brings cohesion. And you got the right person when you're able to sleep at night, just knowing sometimes you kiss a few frogs before you find your prince. So, we might work with somebody for a while. It doesn't work out. Like, no big deal. But I think once you have the right person, and it just lifts everybody. And I think everybody feels clearer, and then what you're doing. And then that individual just gets it too. When you trust that person, when they're ready, they're like, bro, okay, right.
What would your top guy be doing? The producer? Like, what would you have him focus
like the very top guy?
Are you calling that top guy the strategist?
Yeah. The strategist producer guy.
Okay. So
I think it could be both. It'd be both. But there might be niche strategists underneath it that are responsible for a particular vertical.
So what would the strategist be doing beyond research of topics?
Leading all day and dealing with people.
They're going to
really kind of a COO.
Yeah. Then they're going to review videos, make sure that they're going to have to catch these edits, that they're like all those points we just talked about of the 250 points they needed to be doing.
Yeah. Their quality, they're watching the final output. They're watching the reviews, and then they're dealing with people all day long.
Yeah. Okay. And then, editors do editing stuff. Videographers do is there anything else position wise that?
Yeah, I think it gets, I had a great conversation. I went on Rich Wilkerson Jr.'s Mature Me podcast this year. But once I started to wrap my head around how much stuff they had going on, the first question I was like, who's waking up thinking about YouTube? And they were like, really nobody. It's like, we have a social media director, but that's crazy. Social media, they're thinking about Instagram,
Yeah, they're thinking about just posting the search stuff.
And so they're like, kind of not really. And he was like, the main guy was like, I kind of do it. But then here it came in the next thing. It was like, they had the church channel, VU Church, where they upload the sermons. They had Rich Wilkerson's channel, which is Mature Me. They have Friends and Family, which is their leadership channel. They have a kids ministry channel, which they weren't uploading to. And they have a worship channel. And they didn't even have a person that was waking up thinking about YouTube. They have 5 different YouTube channels. Nobody's looking over the big picture. So some of it was like, does it take a smart strategist like me to point out the issue, but it's like, you just kind of have a conversation about it and you're like, okay, like who's in charge? Like have we put just somebody that's leader? And then is it the right leader? And then my argument would be, because in their case, it'd be a board decision. So then my argument, if I was an elder on the board, would be like, we should allocate money to think about the who and then think about, what goes on beyond that. So I guess my point to you would be, it eventually gets down to Pierre, who's a contractor for us, but all he does is optimize old library and split test titles.
Got it.
So there's a weird role that
he's not the top guy.
No,
he's a different.
He just looks
like
at
an optimizer.
Yeah, he basically looks at videos that are actually doing okay, because you can try to revive dead videos, but it's actually your videos that are doing okay that you could split test titles.
They're still getting views.
Yeah, so they have some traffic, and then when you split test it, it lifts, but we get more views and more exposure. We have the whole back end business.
Yeah.
So, I mean, graphic designer just for thumbnails, split testing.
It's funny. We had a video.
Who is not just a graphic designer? We have two different guys that have come out of 6 skill sets in worked at Netflix, movie posters, all this stuff. So incredible designers. But now we're talking about words, psychology. So that's why we'll have these meetings like the title brainstorm, or it's like a podcast strategy meeting. And this, I think actually for a while, you would be considering getting back in there to transfer your heart and your vision to this individual.
Well, especially for the golf channel.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to launch that and get the vibe.
We were talking about titles and split testing titles and split testing thumbnails and brainstorming on some of those things. But some of that goes back to who's waking up thinking about this. And at one point, as you know, even if they are a great leader, there's going to be break points where you need, they don't
know how to solve it. I have to go in and solve it.
Yeah, or I don't even mean that. I mean that they can only handle so much bandwidth. Even a great strategist can't be thinking about all these channels. So that's, I think Patrick Bet-David solved it. He just keeps adding team members. Eventually, it's niche individuals.
How many team members do you have that are just focused on content?
I think it's 10 on the content team.
On the content, which clearly your business is content. So it's really important.
And we have, and that
then
also
on the total overall company.
We have 31 W-2 employees and 10 contractors right now. And so there's a few extra editors, some editors that can step in. That's the core.
So it's
team.
Maybe half the team is.
And I can tell you what I mean.
Content.
So by the way, I also think who's waking up thinking about this is Kyle Anderson.
Mm-hmm.
So you said top down. I was like, okay, actually, who's actually maybe purposefully and put a person in place that's over it, that they also could not just be world class like he is, but grow into it. And then we have an integrator. So Drea we try to have a project manager integrator on top of that to support him, but try to integrate across channels. Now, mind you, we also have other content creators that are responsible to make videos, Craig and Nate. And so that's on the tech channel. Then we have the podcast channel, and then we have editors, the graphic designer, thumbnails, editors. And then by the way, I would say this, I have been in growing pains where I do look at a Dan Martell or a Patrick Bet-David and think about research assistants or content assistant, or it's sort of a different department, but George is our social media manager. And I don't currently sit down and film verticals for 1 to 2 hours a month. That's kind of teed up for me. Some of that is just getting that system going.
Yeah.
But that would give me more leverage, which would be, of course, systems and internal processes and schedule for the existing team to, make it sustainable, because business owners got to operate.
Yeah. All right, dude, you remotivated me to take it serious. So
if this podcast did anything.
Yeah. Gosh dang, dude. Content is, what's funny? I was talking to one thing I really respect now about these guys who've been doing it a long time, like Ramsey, for example, right? The number one thing I have the most respect for is longevity. And so you look at a guy like Dave, who's been doing a radio show for 30 some years.
It's crazy.
And I'm like, oh my gosh, this guy's been at it for 30 some years.
And I want to close the loop on the respect there. My point is they get to a point where they have not just a vertical editor, but then vertical editor number 2, 3,
Yeah.
for.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like 26 people. Now, mind you, they got all these shows. So it's like people are chopping vertical for George. People are chopping vertical for Ken Coleman. People are chopping vertical for Deloney. And then, you know, the director of that, John, who I think recently transitioned, he has one of the best podcasts of all time on the Think Media podcast. He broke down their whole thing, the long tail of how they go vertical that leads to like clips that leads to the show and how they funnel the whole thing is. But John was at the top. The strategist had watched, he goes, when we started YouTube, and it was like 10 years ago, when I was like, Dave, you need to be on YouTube. He's like, it was just me. And I don't know what the number is, but it could be 30, 40, 50, 66 people. That's like how many editors and like niche roles on just the distribution of all the content they do for multiple personalities.
Right.
Shows.
I think for anyone listening, to even just simplify this for them, to bring it back to the viewer who's watching this, but you know, for the viewer, I think if, you know, they might be discouraged because they're like, dude, I can't build a big team. I mean, you guys are talking about 60 clippers and, you know, you're talking about 35, you know, people dedicated to this and whatever. And I think if you're going to do content, you better count the cost. Yeah. Like, that's the big thing. Like, don't do it unless you're serious about it, because the game is different. It's not like you can just put out crap and, you know, nobody's doing TikToks right now. So, you know, your thing will get views. It's like, no, like the level's just going to keep increasing. You know, the demands of viewers are going to keep increasing. If there's so much more, you know, options, you have to stand out more. And so you got to level up or just don't do it.
Yep.
So,
100%.
Well, dude, I appreciate you. Where can people work with you guys?
Man, you know, we updated my book.
Which one? YouTube Secrets?
Yeah, it's second edition. And so we give it away free, you know, just space shipping. And so ytsecrets.com. And if people want to grab that, YT stands for YouTubesecrets.com, ytsecrets.com. Sean Cannell on social media. Instagram. I do love Instagram. I mean, it's fun. Yeah. That's where I was DMing you and being like, dude, how much weight was on that? You said 305. I was like, all right. I saw this thing where it's a meme where it was like, if your dad can't bench 225, you have two moms.
Oh man!
And as soon as I saw
like that.
as soon as I saw the meme, I went to the YMCA and I had it maxed out because I've only been really getting into my health. So I threw on, because that's four. That's yeah. Four. Yeah, it's four 45s, right? So, and I was able to, you know, rep it 6 times or something like that. I was like, come on, bro,
dude.
Let's go.
It. That's easy.
But I'm trying to get up to that, you know, Pineda strength, that baseball golf scratch.
Yeah. Well, I have a reason to be strong now because I'm about to be a YouTube golfer.
Yeah.
So I got to hit bombs and impress people, and you know, maybe I'll start a fitness channel too.
Ryan Gilmore too.
There we go. All right, guys. Well, we will catch you on the next episode. Go check out YouTube Secrets, and we'll see you later.